You're tuned into the Dab Podcast, presented by the Wide World of Rome, and hosted by Andrew Romanella and Anthony Rinaldi. You can get this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. All that we ask is when you're done, please rate, review, and share this podcast with a friend, as well as reach out to us on social media at Dab Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Enjoy the show. Hello and welcome into the 79th edition of the Dab Podcast. I am your host, Andrew Romanella, and with me always my partner, Mr. Anthony Rinaldi.
Andrew, you can feel the crispness in the air. It's almost fall, brother, and you know it's football season right around the corner.
Yeah, but in my mind, you know what that means for me? Playoff baseball.
Well, listen, because no one cares about your Miami Dolphins this year.
And maybe that's why.
You have to keep focused on your Metsies.
I have to keep focused on my Metsies. The people out there need to keep focused on the Twitter and the Gram.
Social media, bitch.
Get us on both. You know the deal, where and when to get it. You just need to go do it. All that we ask, you rate it and you review it. All right, Ant. Last week we started off the show with the New York State of Mind. We liked it. The people liked it. So we're going there again.
And you said it in the intro, Andrew. You feel like it's the world against the Yankees. My Bronx Bombers and chase for number 28 this year. Looking damn good. 40-plus games over 500. Nothing to worry about. Cruising in our division. Let's just figure out if we can get our pitching lined up. Andrew, I love the way the Yankees are playing right now.
See, and I'm super frustrated, and this really pissed me off the other day. And I got to get the pitcher's name from the Yankees. But did you see on Monday, and there was a reliever, he had just been picked up by the Yankees. He was with the Mariners for most of the year. I want to say his last name was Guerin, but I could be wrong.
You're all right.
Okay, I appreciate that. And the umpire tells Romine, hey, he can't throw the way he's throwing. He's in the stretch. He's tapping his right foot and then going and throwing the ball home. And the umpire comes to Romine. Romine kind of walks out, doesn't really know what to say. Aaron Boone comes running out. Another umpire comes running in, right? And it's eventually ruled that it is a balk, which they called on him, which advanced a runner, if he does that type of movement to home plate. And it's just mind-blowing to me because you're going to tell me, and if you listen to the Seattle broadcast, the announcers talked about how they obviously had experienced that in the past this season. But it's mind-blowing to me that you're going to call that once in a blue moon. You're telling me that that's the first time that guy has done that this year? No, it's not, because the Mariners broadcast said it's not the first time he's done it this year because he was a Mariner for most of the year. So my guess is the Mariners coaching staff probably tipped off, the umpire saying, hey, that's illegal. And to me, I just feel like it's just everything right now seems like it's the umpires or everything against the Yankees.
Not to say when you're the Yankees, you need a chip on your shoulder, but we kind of hit on it last episode. Brett Gardner slamming his bat into the roof, kind of being a little obnoxious, and it kind of got a little bit under the umpire's skin, and you saw a lot of balls and strikes being miscalled, and a lot of quick tosses. So it happens. But for me and for the Yankees, I hope they do take this and kind of have that mentality of us against the world. Because frankly, as much as we do have a nice cushion so far in the AL East, it is very important that the New York Yankees get home field advantage, Andrew.
Am I wrong though? Am I seeing this the wrong way? Am I just thinking, hey, you know what, maybe it isn't the Yankees against the world. Maybe it is just that they're doing something illegal or they're reading pitches wrong and the umpires are performing better. Or am I just seeing it wrong?
Nah, listen, I think you're just kind of
Because you're the resident Yankees fan, Ant. So you need to tell me.
Right. I think if it was a little bit tighter of a race and we were losing these games, I'd be more pissed. But winning's the best deodorant, Andrew. So frankly, it doesn't really bother me. Like I said, our main focus should be to keep winning because we desperately need to have 4 games in Yankee Stadium because I want 4 games with a DH. I don't want to see our pitcher have to bat 4 times in a series. Because if our pitcher's hitting, that means one of Edwin Encarnacion, Luke Voigt, a Didi Gregorius, a Mike Tauchman, or a Giancarlo Stanton, even a Mike Ford who's swinging a hot bat right now. These guys won't be in the lineup because there's just not enough positions. There's only 8 positions to go around if we're playing in an NL ballpark. So for me, Andrew, I'm loving life right now. I'm getting hyped up for New York Football Giants. It's obviously going to be an interesting season this year. But like you said, when that air turns a little crisp and it gets a little cold, you think playoff baseball, and we are right there. It's September. I mean, let's get ready to go, folks.
It's just hard for me right now with the Mets having been swept by the Atlanta Braves and not playing well in the early goings of the Chicago Cubs series. I'm excited because they're in the race.
But you swept the Indians.
I know, and my brother tried saying this to me the other day too, and I don't not agree with the fact that they swept the Indians and then they got swept, and essentially, it's as if I get it. I get all of those arguments, but for me, at the end of the day, you just can't get swept ever in the most important part of your season. I don't care who you're playing. I don't care who you are. If it's late August and you're getting ready for a playoff run, you cannot get swept by anybody, especially the team that's leading your division.
I don't think the Mets are ever going to catch the Braves. It was probably a nice thought. You probably want to keep that thought.
But that's not what I'm talking about, though. I'm not talking about them catching them.
I get you, but listen, the Braves are younger, faster, stronger right now. They're just a little bit better. And the Braves have always had your number for some reason. They've always seemed to – I should say Josh Donaldson really has your number. And right now, your main focus
or Chipper Jones.
The Cubs and the Phillies. That needs to be the Mets' main focus right now.
Yes, I agree with you.
It would have been,
but it's not about the Braves. It's insert team here. It could be anybody. If you're a playoff team in late August, you cannot be getting swept when you're 2 games back in the wild card. Because think about it. The same Chicago Cubs that you're playing right now did not have a good series either. So now, if you had just one more game, it's a different animal. You're lucky that you're still only 2 back of the Cubs who have the second wild card. But you could be in the second wild card right now, or you could be a game or less than that playing the Cubs in a 3-game series right now.
Were you or were you not in all those games this past weekend against the Braves?
You were.
So, I mean, listen, not to be a glass half full guy, a ball lands there. Unfortunately, you just couldn't scratch a run across. Jacob deGrom was your best hitter this weekend. I don't know. It's unfortunate. Polar Bear seems to have been a little bit of not a dry spell, but he hit another home run. So he's still doing that for you. You get Jeff McNeil back. Jed Lowry, he may show up eventually for the Mets.
What a waste.
Some nice bench depth. For me, listen, like I said, it's all about this next 12 games for the Mets. It would have been nice to take 2 or 3 from the Braves, or at least get one of them.
Just get one.
But now you turn your focus to the Cubs and Phillies, and you hopefully you go 4-2 if you can.
And part of the killer too, you're right, because a lot of the focus needs to be the Nationals and the Phillies and the Cubs. But in the same breath of you getting swept by no matter who it was, but in this case, the Atlanta Braves, the Nationals have won 5 in a row. And the the Phillies have won 2 straight series. So that, I guess, also is what hurts that situation, because you have the other 2 teams, to your point, Ant, that you need to be focused on right now, winning the games they need to win.
Oh, baby, September baseball. Really tighten your jockstrap, folks. It's about to get bumpy in here.
I'm super pumped. Anything else on your New York state of mind, Mr. Rinaldi?
No, Andrew, I'm just, like I said, I can't wait. Preseason Game 4 coming up this week. Can't wait to see no non-starters playing that game. But really, the season's here. I'm amped up. Baseball's red hot. Football's on the front burners. I'm just amped up, Andrew.
Do you have any New York Football Giants on any of your fantasy football teams?
I've had 1 draft so far, and I think I have 0 New York Football Giants so far.
I have 1 New York Football Giant.
Who is that?
Saquads.
He's pretty good.
Saquads. Drafted Mr. Saquads last night, Mr. Rinaldi. First overall pick.
was that before or after you decided to take 2 kickers?
Oh, we're about to go to the fan write-in segment. That's a great segue. Teaser. These fan write-ins are brought to you by Dig Me Nation. Head over to digmenation.com and at checkout use the promo code DIGTHEDAB and receive 30% off your next purchase. So then do you want me to start with that one or do you want me to end with that one?
You can end with that one.
You want me to end with it?
Let's just let that marinate. Andrew Romanella, sports guru, sports aficionado, claimed 2 kickers in fantasy.
What if I was telling you I was trying something different?
Got to make sure you cover your bye week. I get it.
Yeah, listen, some things are important, some things aren't. Okay, fan write-in number 1 is not of the sports variety, and it is a very serious topic, but I appreciated that somebody was at least willing to write in. So I'm going to ask you the question, Mr. Rinaldi, and it is from Coach J. What are we going to do, not as in you and I, but as the world, about the Amazon rainforest currently burning? What do you think, should do? What have you heard? What are you hoping for, man?
I can't say that I know exactly what's going on. I know that the entire Amazon rainforest is, under siege right now by flame, which is never good for, a forest of any sorts. And the rainforest especially is key to that, to that area, economic wise, as well as, for the environment. So to see that it just, go up in flames, no pun intended, it's kind of sad. It's kind of scary. But when you think about it, that's kind of what happens in California every year with those wildfires. Like you try to maintain it, you try to keep it under wraps, you do your best you can, and hopefully it doesn't happen again for a long time. But for me, it's just real scary. I guess as a nation, we can send aid, we can send our manpower, we can send money, whatever it is we do when these natural disasters. I'm sure our government's on it. If not, hopefully they are soon, and hopefully we can get at least the fires under wraps for at least a little bit. And
truthfully, this question just made me remember, Anthony, that when we do get an opportunity to talk about sports or athletes get an opportunity to play a sport, there are sometimes a lot more dangerous things, a lot worse things, a lot greater things than sports going on. And it just kind of reminds you, like for me, it just reminds me I'm super lucky to work in sports, and I'm super fortunate for, whatever the life that I have, the opportunities I've been given, those things, because some people, of course, but some other situations, some things are going on around the world that are just so much more important. And that, when I read that question, man, that's what that made me think about.
It's a great question. Was that Coach Jay?
Yes, sir.
Appreciate that question.
Yeah, appreciate it much. Back onto that, as Michael K calls it, the candy shop in the world of sports. The next question comes from Deb Rome on Instagram. That name may sound familiar to you. Fantasy football top picks for both you and Anthony. So what's cool about this, dude, is that we both only had one draft. So I want your favorites / and or best pick from your fantasy football draft.
All right, it's a little crazy for me because obviously I could tell you as the top pick. Yeah, I had the 9th pick in a 12-team draft, and I had no idea where to go, and I went crazy, and I went Lev Bell. But that's not my favorite. That's not my favorite pick. My favorite pick was in the 10th round, I believe, and it was one James Washington.
Wow.
And folks, keep your eyes and ears peeled for James Washington out of Pittsburgh. He will be this year's Juju Smith-Schuster.
Okay.
That was last year.
Wow.
So and he'll go late, folks. 10th round was probably even a little early for him, but I wanted to get him, so I nabbed him early. But that's just a name to keep on your radar.
I love it, Mr. Rinaldi. 10th round. And a guy that he's going to step in, and because AB is gone, there's a lot more footballs to go around in that Pittsburgh offense. So I love where your head's at.
A lot of targets.
Well, Mr. Rinaldi, my favorite pick in my draft was Geronimo Allison. I drafted him, my man, last pick in the draft. Last pick. And I think Geronimo Allison, who we both talked about on our fantasy wide receiver drop down is a sleeper guy that's going to, especially, and we're a PPR. So it's a sleeper guy that's going to get those receptions and probably have an opportunity in the offense with Aaron Rodgers to get a lot of targets and some potential touchdown opportunities. And for me to get him in the last round, I'm like, dude, anybody that has the opportunity to draft this guy late as heck, maybe last 5 rounds of the draft, please go do so, because I think I'm going to reap the benefits too, man. I think I'm going to see him starting all, 14 or 15 weeks of my fantasy season.
I mean, listen, you said it. Dude's got Aaron Rodgers chucking him the ball. So
can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong right there.
100%. All right, last question, which we alluded to, which maybe I guess I should have said is my favorite or maybe worst fantasy pick of all time. Coach Rocky from Instagram, a.k.a. Alfred Hitchcock, a.k.a. Rome Squared, a.k.a. that dude that called in Chevrolet.
A.k.a. the dude who called me out on my New York Giants fandom.
Yo, that's true. He did. For those of you that wouldn't know, because you're not in our DMs, Coach Rocky. I'm not going to go through all of his names again. I can't keep doing that. But Alfred Hitchcock called out, and I screenshotted it and sent it to Mr. Rinaldi. Mr. Rinaldi's fanhood of the New York Giants because he chose the Philadelphia Eagles to win the NFC East. So, Ant, I'm going to give you the floor. And before I give you my downfall, in which Coach Rocky's calling me out for, I want you to give the people your response to Chevrolet calling you out.
I'm simple. I'm like Jay-Z. I'm a businessman, not a businessman. You get it? So I'm in the profit of making money. So I like to lead in my heart. Obviously, I'd want to pick my Giants to win the division. Do I think that's possible? No, not really. Unfortunately, I think the Eli Manning era is coming to a crashing end. It's going to crash and burn, and unfortunately, Eli's not going to be able to walk out, into the sunshine after winning the Super Bowl and kind of mosey out his way down the road. He's probably going to end up playing for a different squad, and it is what it is. That's the sport of it. And I'm actually really interested to see Daniel Jones. There's a lot of hype around him this offseason, and obviously this draft. So I'm dying to see what he is. But if I'm seeing him, that means basically our season's in the toilet. So, to go against my dad, I can't pick the Cowboys. So the lesser of two evils, the Eagles, sure. But I hate them both equally, Eagles and Cowboys.
I'm so excited to hear his response to that.
But you can take my fan card away for 2 years. It's not like you invite me to any Roman L tailgates.
Ooh.
To the stadium anyway.
Shots fired. Shots fired. Mr. Hitchcock, anchor.fm if you'd like to vocally respond. Okay. Mr. Hitchcock, a.k.a. has more names than a rapper, wrote in, Andrew drafts 2 kickers. Great move or tragic blunder?
What's more likely? Tragic blunder.
Yeah. All right. Can I explain myself in this situation? Listen.
No, there's no explanation.
I was at Top Golf. I was highly distracted, which I think everyone can understand. Okay. Now,
hold on. Were there libations flowing?
Libations might have been flowing, and some bananas might have been spent on some Top Golf and some food, which is always a good time, right? And I'm the commissioner, so the real downfall might not actually be the kickers drafted. It might more so be that I set the time for 9 p.m. and really could have just, outruled everybody. Like, we'll do it for 10. But I didn't. And you know what happens at Top Golf. You end up putting an hour in the machine, and you end up spending another hour because you're just having so much fun. It's like bowling, You end up going to bowl. Yeah, we'll play a game or two, and then you end up, wanting to play another. It's just easy. So I got caught in the 13th.
2-hour minimum event right there, going to Top Golf or bowling.
Right.
You're in it for the long haul.
So
those 1 hour jump offs don't last.
Can you see?
That's a teaser.
Can you see why then I got caught drafting 2 kickers? I was in the 13th and the 14th round. I was, finishing up a fantastic evening of Top Golf, and I was drafting on my phone, and I might have gotten caught. I heard the dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, and I'm like, oh crap, I got a draft. And I was in the kicker section because I had just drafted Greg Zerline, number 13th overall. I felt really good about my draft, and I guess I just forgot. Legatron, I got him, and then I got Mr. Lutz as well.
2 really good. Hopefully they don't have the same bye week, but
it'd be pretty funny if they did.
That's unlucky there. That's
So you're saying tragic blunder?
I mean, that's just that is. I think you should rock out with 2 kickers the whole year, just to see how it works out.
I'm going to change the flex position to any position so I could put 2 kickers in my lineup.
I was gonna say, frankly, I wouldn't mind joining a 2-kicker league. That sounds intriguing.
That does. Agree or disagree before we finish fan write-ins? A kicker can win you a big fantasy football game every year.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, it's such an interesting spot on the roster because like you're probably guaranteed like 5 to 8 points. You could say if you have a decent kicker, but sometimes they'll give you like 15 or 17 points, and it's like unheard of. And that's sometimes that'll win you a week.
Yeah, I agree.
For me, I always stream the kickers. I don't draft 2 of them, but
tragic blunder.
Listen, I had somebody in my league, and I thought maybe it was an auto draft error. I thought maybe because you had your rankings that way and they just drafted next. But you left it on the kicker screen. They picked the next kicker for you. A gentleman in my league, unfortunately, it's a close family friend league. It's been going on for a few years now, so I can't drop it because I did bad. But there's like 4 or 5 guys on auto draft, and of course, like round 6 or I think it was like round 8 or 9 comes around, and someone drafts Andrew Luck.
Oh.
And of course, he's already retired. So I'm like, pause the draft. I'm screaming, pause. I'm like, don't let anybody else. I'm like, obviously he didn't need to do it. He's on auto draft. And then literally the guy right after him drafts Lamar Miller.
Stop.
I was like, oh my God. Like,
now, was that also on auto draft, or did he actually openly choose?
Both guys were on auto draft. So, folks, little PSA: if you do auto draft, make sure you do adjust the settings if someone does get hurt or retires.
Yes,
please. Before your draft.
Please. Oh, and honestly, and that's why I'm okay, like, drafting 2 kickers in a draft, but not being on auto draft. You know what I'm saying? Like, I might be the idiot that clicked drafting 2 kickers twice, but at least I didn't kill the draft for everybody else, or like slow it down, or make everybody wait 60 or 90 or 30 seconds, depending on what league you're in. That's my biggest thing. Like, if I'm going to commit to being at fantasy football, I should at least be present. And with cell phones existing now, it's very easy to always be present whenever your draft is.
Yeah, that's always listen, it's tough to get everybody together at one time, but it is what it is. And hopefully those guys, I didn't see how those other teams finished out draft-wise, but whoever's picking behind those 2 got lucky and probably got some really good cream picks in those mid to late rounds there because these guys are picking guys who don't exist.
And me, I'm picking kickers, so I set up somebody in my league.
With my last pick, I picked George Blanda.
There you go. My last pick, Geronimo Allison. Boom. Well, fan write-ins, Mr. Rinaldi, brought to you by digmenation.com. Head over to Dig Me Nation. Use the promo code DIG-THE-DAB. All right, so for the last few weeks on the DAB podcast, we have been going through our top 5s in all of our fantasy situations. So our top 5 wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, right? Because you're avid listeners out there, you already know that. So we thought to the podcast this week, we'd bring our top 5 coaches in the NFL. We felt like it'd be a pretty fun topic. We actually had a college baseball coach buddy of mine who was actually written into the podcast before, a.k.a. predicting the Cardinals would make it to the playoffs, right in a top 5 NFL head coaches himself. And it was actually partly his idea because he was really intrigued one day on talking about the guys that were the top coaches in the NFL. So, Mr. Rinaldi, I know that I have not heard your list. You have not heard mine. So I want you to rattle off your 5, and then I'll rattle off my 5, and then we can discuss them.
We're rattling. All right. No particular order. We can discuss that later. But I'm going to go with, obviously, Billy Belichick. He's got to be on my Mount Rushmore +1. Give me Andy Reid. I'll take Sean Payton. I'll take John Harbaugh. Excuse me. And Mike Tomlin.
Wow.
And you know what? I don't know if I.
No, you only get 5.
Those are my 5. My 5B would be obviously Sean McVay.
Wait. So Sean McVay was not in your top 5.
He was originally, and then I just kind of threw a curveball in there with the Harbaugh. Because I
Wow.
want to give it to the guys who win rings, my man. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh. All right. I completely disagree. My top five is Bill Belichick, number one, Sean
Yep.
McVay, number two,
Yo, come on. Please just be biased.
Sean Payton, number three, Bruce Arians, number four, Andy Reid, number five. I got John Harbaugh right there in like a six slot. I feel you on that one, 100%. I don't disagree. But Mike Tomlin, honestly, is a byproduct of the people before him winning that Super Bowl and has done really not that much with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And arguably, what is the now Oklahoma City Thunder of the NFL. Just like the Thunder had Kevin Durant, James Harden, and I'm missing the other guy's name for some reason, drawing a blank, Russell Westbrook. They had those three and never won a ring, right? You had Roethlisberger, you had Le'Veon Bell, you had Antonio Brown, and you never won a ring. And that, to me, kind of falls on the head coach.
Listen, tough to argue. If I could easily ship him out for a Sean McVay type, but like I said, I'm gonna give it to the guy who has the ring, even though you say it's not his. The dude constantly coaches that team to at least a 10 plus wins, at least a above 500 record every season, and they're always in the hunt for the playoffs. I mean, looking back at it, I mean, AB was a knucklehead, was a loose cannon. I don't know if that's Big Ben's fault and the coach's fault. Obviously, you want to try to, bring him in and try to hone his talent, but at some point, all you can do is lead, the horse to water.
Yeah.
You can't make him drink. And with AB and Lev Bell, they wanted to do other things. They were more themselves, not team oriented per se. They were more about themselves. Lev Bell wanted to get paid. AB just wanted to be AB and wear his own damn helmet. Who knows? So I'm not going to put that on Tomlin. I just think that he's a great motivator. He's a player's coach. He wins. He's a tough ass division, and he's been to the promised land before. So that's why I have him on top five.
I'll put him in the top 10, but I hard disagreement on the top five. But that's okay. I'm cool with that.
Would you take him on as your Dolphins head coach?
No, honestly, I wouldn't.
Oh my God, it's the first time ever, folks.
Yeah.
Holy crap! Write that down.
I don't think I would, honestly.
The first guy Andrew doesn't want on the Dolphins.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm cool with what Brian Flores is doing right now. I like the direction. The Dolphins actually just got linked with talking to Jadeveon Clowney.
I was just going to say, how do you feel about that?
I feel great about it. Let's go. I'm all in on that, dude. Are you kidding me? We need some of that.
Yeah, you need listen, you gotta chase a quarterback around.
Listen, here's Anthony Spartaro's top five, okay? McVay, Belichick, Peterson, Peyton, Nagy. Wow.
Wow.
How about them apples?
Listen, I get it. McVay's talented, but this guy has like the Midas touch. Everything he touches turns to gold over here.
But he's that good, and he's young, and you could just see it. Like, it's almost like I look at Sean McVay as the next Bill Belichick. That's what I see him as.
Yeah, you think?
Yes.
I don't know because I don't think Sean McVay has a defensive background like Bill Belichick had. Bill Belichick was obviously a defensive guru who kind of figured out how to win with how to do offensive stuff, but really never he doesn't have the offensive mind like a Sean McVay or a Sean Payton, where it's like the crazy plays you're drawing up. But he just knows how to coach all three facets of the game. And to me, I don't think McVay's there yet. Obviously, he had a really good 2 seasons with LA. The past 2 seasons have been great. Obviously, getting to the championship last year, falling short against Bill Belichick the Great. I'm not gonna lie, McVay's gonna be a stud, but I just think I think he's got to get there first. Let him get to the mountaintop. But I think he's more of an offensive guru who's got a really good offense, and obviously got a stout defense with Aaron Donald.
But isn't Bill Belichick like the only defensive coach that's actually consistently won?
Right.
How many defensive coaches do you think about and say, man, that defensive coach has won a lot of Super Bowls?
They're all in the same tree. Parcells, Belichick.
Right. So wouldn't you think that Sean McVay fares in the majority as opposed to the minority, which is Bill Belichick? And I think he could be the next Bill Belichick in terms of the coach he is. I don't think his defensive background is going to affect that. And plus, he's got And actually, Alfred said this to me. He's got the best coach in the National Football League in Wade Phillips as his defensive coordinator. So if he can continually do that over the course of his career, because, well, Wade Phillips is old, we know that. So he's probably not going to last that much longer in the NFL. Who the hell am I to say? But anyways, not like I'm friends with him.
I think some Jets fans would have a disagreement with who the best defensive coordinator in the league is right now.
They could. I agree with you on that 100%. But again, I need to see him do that with the New York Jetropolitans. I need to see that happen.
You're right. You're right.
You know,
right.
And so that's why I do believe, because that's the other thing. And you know what? Rob DeToma, Ant was on the Rome show the other day, and you know Rob DeToma, friend of the cast, and he jumped on the Rome show the other day, and he was talking about some of the most important things, the most important part of building a program, building an organization is the people that you hire, hiring the right people. And I think what to me is a huge character trait for Bill Belichick is he hires the right people to organize and execute his plan the way he sees it fit, the way it'll be successful for the New England Patriots. And Sean McVay does the exact same things. He has the same characteristics. He hires the right people to execute his plan organized to what is going to help the Los Angeles Rams win football games. And I just don't see, and hey, you know what? You're right. Honestly, you can be wrong about everybody. I mean, who the hell are half of us? Half the time, anyone that talks about sports or dissects things can be so wrong because you really never know. But for me, just the way it's trending, and I guess too, Ant, maybe you said recency bias. For me, there is a little truth in that. Not necessarily from a football standpoint, but from like a coaching standpoint. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love watching young coaches and seeing how they got there and then seeing how they could potentially sustain success and then saying to myself, okay, like this young dude is doing it at the professional level at a high level. What's he doing right that I can translate to the college game and make myself a better coach?
What is he, 35? He's turning 35 years old this year, I believe.
It's crazy.
So he's got plenty, like I said, he's going to grow into that even better coach. Like Belichick's in his 60s. And obviously he started when he was this young. He'll be a D coordinator for the Giants and what have you. You know, and listen, he's going to cut his ties. He's going to figure out, like, losing the Super Bowl, obviously, is a great, chip for his shoulder going forward. He'll take those lessons learned, and he'll hopefully roll it into this season. If I'm him, I'm pretty excited about my squad, but I think I'm pretty nervous about this Gurley. I have a feeling this Gurley contract is really may hinder Los Angeles going forward next few years. With the money they're spending on a banged up running back, so who knows, Andrew? It's definitely going to be an interesting NFC. What was that? The NFC West out there?
Yeah.
With the Garoppolo Niners and Seattle still looming around there.
Yeah. That's going to be a tough division, man. I mean, anytime, and then that's another head coach right there. Pete Carroll, and real quick before we flip to. Predicting the AFC East and AFC South. I wrote down a few of these names. I just want to get, thoughts. Okay. Ron Rivera. Obviously Matt Nagy, who is in Anthony's top 5. Doug Marrone. Not a bad name. And then, another one, Doug Peterson, which was also in Anthony's top 5.
I hate the Eagles.
Now he hates the Eagles.
Somebody would have been bananas. I love the Eagles. I really wish that the Eagles would have hired Ben McAdoo as their head coach, because then Peterson would never went there. Listen, when you come to this organization, you win a Super Bowl, you already got to have some credentials. So obviously he's right up there. He's a fiery guy. The other players coach, understands the game, understands all three facets of the game. Doesn't really have a strength, but does all three really well. Doug Marrone is kind of a name that's kind of passed around the NFL, kind of an NFL lifer. Doesn't really do much for me. Where's he up there? Buffalo? Is he still in Buffalo?
Yeah. No. Doug Marrone?
No, that's what's it? Yeah.
Jacksonville.
Doug Marrone go? Jacksonville. I'm sorry. Yeah. The other guy.
He was in Buffalo for a year. Remember, they didn't want to pay him or something like that.
Right. He was there for a year. Quick year. Then he was out, and then now he's hanging out over there.
It's just an interesting combo. It is.
Yeah, listen, there's a lot of good coaches. There's a lot of young coaches. There's a lot of you still got Kyle Shanahan out there in San Francisco. I think he's 40. So he's got a lot of life left in his coaching to figure out. Hopefully he's got a healthy quarterback. They can figure it out there. But hopefully my coach, Pat Shurmur, can figure it out. That's all I care about.
That's a good point. We'll see what happens with the New York Giants. All right. we've been breaking down divisions. We got the AFC East and the AFC South on the docket today. What do you got on? Let's go AFC South first because obviously the AFC East is the division in which the Dolphins reside, and I think we may know the winner of that division already.
When can we finally? When's the year we can say that there's a chance that they won't win it? Like
2023.
Is it when he's gone? Is it when they're both gone? Was one of them gone? I mean, you're right. It's the Patriots. It's the Patriots. And I think it's been the Patriots for the past 15 years.
Yes.
Sprinkle in the Jets once or twice, I think.
The Dolphins once.
The Dolphins, you're right. It's like, was it 2010 or something?
When Tom Brady was injured.
Matt Castle led.
Yeah, in 2008, the Chad Pennington led Miami Dolphins made it to the playoffs and won the AFC East.
Wow.
Lost to the Ravens.
My bad, John.
Yeah, tough times in my life. No, super excited that Chad Pennington led us to the playoffs. So we established that AFC East, New England Patriots. I think at the end of the day, the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Bills fall in line in any way, shape, or form under 500 for all three of them. AFC South.
Did you plan that, Andrew? Do the AFC South with the retirement of one Andrew freaking Luck?
I did not, but how about them apples?
Talk about irony. I mean, where were you when that news dropped? When that bomb? Were you topped off again, Andrew? What were you doing?
I was not top golfing, unfortunately. I honestly think I was on campus, and somebody said to me, maybe it was one of my players, like, "Hey, coach, did you see Andrew Luck retired?" And I was like, "What? Andrew Luck retired?" And then sure enough, drop down screen, Andrew Luck announces shocking retirement. And I was like, wow, that blows my mind. And honestly, the next thought in my head was, this is the current state of the National Football League. And he's one of not a few, but recently many that have retired under the age of 30.
And, I can't. I didn't know what to think about it when I read it. I was, come across my breaking news. Andrew Luck retired. I was like, oh, another jersey I had hanging up in my closet. I got to stop buying jerseys.
It's true. It's you. Honestly, we've established this.
This was my what do you got fix. I could be a human jinx. So I mean, listen, Andrew Luck is a world class athlete. He's a world class dude. He's got a degree from Stanford. So he made $100 million so far in his career, so he'll be fine going forward. So I'm not too worried about him that way. But for him to come out and say that he was just in a vicious cycle of injury, rehab, pain, injury, rehab, pain, and you can just tell he was in a dark place. In that press conference, he just looked like a lost soul.
Yeah.
Like obviously his lifeblood just got sucked out of him. He's probably playing football since he was 7. He's a football. The Luck family is a football family. His father played football. His father runs XFL now, basically. So I mean, football's in his life. So for him to hang it up at 29, to be so young, I mean, it had to have been such a dark, dark place that the only way he was coming out of it was to retire.
And the reality of the situation is that now the Colts' projection for the 2019 season looks completely different than it did some 7 days ago. And that is the facts. And Jacoby Brissett slides into a position where it's a good thing he's been there the last 2 years. It's a good thing that he's played a good amount of football games in the last years and started for this football team. But he's not Andrew Luck. And I think now when you look at the AFC South, you lose Lamar Miller in Houston. Andrew Luck retires in Indianapolis. You don't really know what you're going to get and who the quarterback is in Mariota in Tennessee. I think I might take the Jacksonville Jaguars if Nick Foles has a good season.
You almost got to take the Jaguars by default in this division. I mean, I still like Houston. Obviously, Deshaun Watson, stud quarterback. He'll carry the defense. If the defense stays healthy, not sure which team Clowney's going to play for.
Let's go Fins.
Start of the season. But, I mean, listen, Andrew Luck was worth, I think, 3 or 4 wins in Vegas because they opened up, I think, over under 10 wins on the season. And I think now they dropped all the way down to 6. which is just
That's a
heartbreaking.
huge
heartbreaking
swing.
if you're an Indianapolis Colt season ticket holder, and that's probably why the people were booing. And I know there's a lot of talk about how classless it was to boo him, but I think it was just they're just in the moment type of reaction. Because to quit, basically quit on your team and retire 2 weeks before the season starts is kind of like leaving them high and dry. But I think Brissett being there, this is obviously the best team that Andrew Luck had around him. So it's a good O line now. They have some weapons on the outside. They have a good running game. The defense is still a little suspect, but I think they'll be like 7-9, maybe 8-8 if they get lucky. If Jacoby Brissett finds some magic, but yeah, I think Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville has a huge bounce back. That defense is stout, and I think they're going to be 10-6, wins that division.
Here's a mind-blowing idea. Call Colin Kaepernick.
I think there's a few teams that could use his services, but
Or
he'll probably turn him down like he did before.
Or the Tennessee Titans, who might not make this trade now because they don't know what Mariota is, but for Ryan Tannehill.
Right. Why don't you call the Giants, see if Eli Manning's available?
I'm just making moves all over the place. I'm taking Jacksonville. One, because I do think Nick Foles can have a good year. I do like Doug Marrone, as I just mentioned. And I think that defense is going to be good enough to help lead them as long as Nick Foles is good enough. He doesn't need to be great, just needs to be good enough if their defense is going to be a top 5, top 10 defense like they can be next year. And I think that the Houston Texans are going to suffer a huge blow. They did trade for Duke Johnson, which is huge. Not saying Duke Johnson is Lamar Miller, but at the end of the day, Lamar Miller I don't think has played a full season since he got traded from the Miami Dolphins to the Houston Texans. So there really is something that the Houston Texans are used to. So I don't think that's going to drop them ridiculously down. But then again, there's injury concerns on Deshaun Watson and J.J. Watt. And you don't have Jadeveon Clowney in camp because obviously he hasn't signed his tag yet. So there's a lot of question marks there. So I'm going to take Jacksonville, like you said, by default. But I'm actually going to have Indy finish in second there, dude. And then I think it's a crapshoot for Houston and for Tennessee this year. And that's the way I see it playing out. And I think that it's going to be an interesting AFC. I feel like every division is going to have one team that's like head over heels better than everybody else. And then I think a bunch of teams that aren't that good. And then the AFC North, which we'll break down next week, is our last division. I think is going to be the division where if you take the Bengals out of it, you have 3 teams that legitimately are going to be competing for playoff spots.
Oh, yeah. I was like, who's your number one standout in that division? Because that's 3 heavy right there.
Yeah, and that's why we saved that for the end because it's 3 deep, I believe, that division. I think that's the only division in the AFC. It's because, the AFC, because Kansas City and the Chargers, I think, are head and heels better than the Broncos and the Raiders. And we talked about this already. Then, like we just talked about, Jacksonville's ahead, I think, better than all 3 of those teams. And I think New England's head over heels but better than both those other teams. I know, listen, I could be completely wrong. Football's one of those sports, but that's just the way I see it.
Oh, let's line them up, Andrew.
I'm excited.
It's here.
All right.
It's here.
Before we go to what do you got and close out the DAP podcast, I just want to ask you 3 quick questions. We did this a few weeks ago, and I thought the fans liked it, and I liked it. So I wanted to do it again. And it's back on our head coach topic, okay? I got 3 what's more likelies for you today. Mr. Rinaldi, head coach edition. Okay, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, here we go. What is more likely? Andy Reid wins the Super Bowl or Ron Rivera wins a Super Bowl?
That is simple, Bob. It is 2 words, 1 name, Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid is going to finally get his ring because that dude, future Hall of Famer Pat Mahomes, is just a stud.
Would that be your Super Bowl pick this year?
Wow. Besides my New York Football Giants, Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh, God.
Chiefs versus Giants. That's my Super Bowl matchup.
Wow.
That's tough for me to pick them. I have a moral issue right now with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay.
I have a moral dilemma with them.
Well, you sleep on that, and we'll get back to it later. All right. I agree with Andy Reid. Number 2, Sean McVay wins his first Super Bowl, or Bill Belichick wins his 7th.
I'm going to say it's no offense to your boy McVay, but it's tough to go against the GOAT. So I'm going to lean Bill So I'm gonna go with Bill Belichick. He'll win his 7th.
Oh, wow.
Because he still got TB12 back there, right?
Yeah, he does.
Retire. He didn't retire 2 weeks before the season.
Did not retire.
All right, I'm good then. I'll take him.
All right. I'm going to take Sean McVay wins his first. I think the next 2 years.
Such recency bias.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I think he's getting it. I think he's going to win it, baby. All right.
No way.
Sean McVay wins his first. Okay, last. What's more likely? You're going to like this. And I didn't even know your top 5, which fires me up that these are the questions that I had come up with. Mike Tomlin gets fired. Or Jay Gruden gets fired.
To me, you fire Mike Tomlin, he'll have the job next day.
I agree.
Jay Gruden, not so much.
He's a coordinator again if he gets fired.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not impressed with Washington. They're going to be the dregs of the NFC East with the Giants. They got young Dwayne Haskins starting, so they're going to have to go through the kinks of the doldrums of having a rookie quarterback start, the ups and downs. So that's tough. That's tough on Jay Gruden. It's going to be tough on Dwayne Haskins. So I'm going to go Jay Gruden's going to get fired first.
Agree 100%.
Although I feel like Tomlin's always in the hot seat in the beginning of the season.
He is.
Pittsburgh's always kind of laying in the weeds. And they still have 10-6 or 9-7-1, what have you.
It's very true.
But I don't know. I just, to me, Mike Tomlin, he is just the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, he just defines Pittsburgh.
I agree.
So it's tough for me to see them let him go, unless they go like 3-13, something crazy, or he tells Art Rooney to go take a walk.
I completely agree. 100%. I think Jay Gruden's canned at the end of this year, and I don't think they're going to be that good. We'll see what happens. But he's supposed to be quarterback whisperer. He has had like 5 starters in the last 4 years. So I haven't seen anything positive from him. I think he's banged. And you're right. There is a part of it that says, hey, you know what? Mike Tomlin's teams are always winning 9 to 10 games a year, and they're always getting into the playoffs. So I think Mike Tomlin has gained the respect of getting a few more years than just one potentially bad year, if it was to be that case before he got himself fired. All right, Mr. Rinaldi, it is what do you got time, and I'm looking at my paper here, and I don't wear glasses, Mr. Rinaldi, nor do I need glasses, but this thing's telling me that you went 2-0 last week.
That's right. The blind squirrel has found the nut. For any dyslexic folks, that's not an 0 for 2. That is a 2 for 0. Don't call it a comeback. I'm hot on your tail, Andrew. 13 games under 500. I can't wait for what do you got this week. Give me some.
49-62. You are Mr. Rinaldi. You went 2-0 on your choice of Mike Fultonevich for the Atlanta Braves. Mr. Fultonevich went 7.0 innings. He had 2 hits, 1 earned run, 7 Ks. You predicted Ant 6 2/3 innings, 8 Ks, 3 earned runs, and 2 walks. I don't know why you predicted walks, but you predicted walks. And Mr. Fultonevich helped lead you to a 2-1 victory over the Metropolitans.
Just want to fill the stat sheet for you. Give you all I got.
Well, I appreciate you, and so do the fans. It says on here that you had some other statistics, but I'm sorry I did not keep those because when you ask me to keep how many packs of gum they eat in a game, it's pretty tough to watch that many baseball games.
We'll just have to guesstimate that one. You're a baseball guy. You know how much bubble gum I go through.
I chose the Mets versus the Cubs. Noah Syndergaard, and the Mets won. Amped. Noah Syndergaard went 6 innings, 2 hits, 0 earned, 5 Ks. I predicted he'd go 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned, 8 Ks. So pretty close on that one. So I moved myself to 58 and 53. So I just continue, Mr. Rinaldi, to even when you go 2-0, just probably expand upon my lead and really make it difficult for you to come back.
When you dig yourself that deep of a hole, it's going to take a lot. It's going to take some of these 4-point plays. You have to pull some out of my butt, Andrew. I don't know what's going on.
All right, Mr. Rinaldi, what do you got?
I'm gonna keep it simple. I'm gonna do a little Friday afternoon delight for the folks at work, or if anyone's traveling away down the shore for the holiday weekend. Brewers, Cubs, and I choose that for multiple reasons, Andrew. Mainly because your Metsies are chasing the Cubs right now for the wild card spot, and the Brewers desperately need to get a win They've fallen, I think, 3.5, 4 games behind.
Yeah, what happened?
In the wild card chase there. So I want to go with that. It's a Friday. Like I said, it's Friday. Cubs are at home. So I want to go with, obviously, the away dog because that makes total sense. So give me the Brew Crew. And I want the MVP, Christian Yelich. He better show up. My man's batting like 260 the past few weeks. He's not carrying it. He needs to do a little more. He needs to put his team on his back. He needs to show me that he wants to make it to the postseason and carry the Brew Crew to the playoffs. So let's go with Milwaukee over the Cubbies. That'll help your Mets as well, Andrew. So you're welcome. And give me Christian Yelich, 3 for 4, 1 homer, 4 RBI. Hell of a day for the kid.
Wow, is that 1 homer, the 4 RBIs?
No. He's gonna have multiple hits.
All right.
Maybe a dubs in there or triple. Who knows how speedy Yelich is these days with his bad back. But I'm going with that. I'm going with the Brew Crew.
We'll see if Anthony can get over the half-century mark and wins in this what do you got choice.
There you go. Andrew, what do you got?
I'm staying with the Metsies. I love the Metsies. Even though they lost to the Cubs, they've lost 4 in a row, and they need to find a way to turn it around. I'm taking them on Thursday, which I am assuming, based on my belief, that the Mets are going to win Game 2 of this series. So I'm going to take the Thursday action, okay? That would be, in my opinion, my guesstimation, the rubber match. That's Jacob deGrom going against John Lester. Wow. Okay. But I'm not taking either of them. I'm taking Ahmed Rosario. Ahmed Rosario has been a consistent offensive stick for this team all year. Part of the issue for this team is that they have not been scoring runs over their last 4 games, and I need some of these guys to start coming through again. And it's not just Pete Alonso, right? Ahmed Rosario's got to keep showing up. Joe Panic has got to start being a veteran. Michael Conforto's got to keep showing up. Wilson Ramos is to keep showing up, right? And these guys have not been coming through in the last 4 games, but I feel like Ahmed Rosario is going to help take us out of that. I think he's going to be a big 2 for 4. He's going to have 3 RBIs and a double. And he's going to help lead the Mets to a victory over the Chicago Cubbies and an eventual series win.
Oh, boy. Hope you don't jinx your Metsies, Andrew.
They won't. I won't. Stop that. I won't.
Stop that nonsense.
You stop that nonsense right now.
I'm the only jinx on this podcast.
You don't put that bad juju into the air. No bad juju.
No Juju Smith-Schuster in there.
Mr. Rinaldi, did you see real quick before we sign off the Dab podcast, Rory McIlroy win $15 million over the weekend?
Yeah, I heard someone told me that. I mean, it really didn't, for some reason, golf did not really move the needle for me.
Really?
This year, obviously, Tiger winning the Masters obviously was huge, but I don't know. I don't understand the FedEx Cup right now. Like, I haven't watched enough of it to understand how the points work and how Rory. I don't really recall him winning many tournaments, but all of a sudden he has a good weekend and he wins the whole $15 million. I don't know. But it was enjoyable. I'm sure. If it's $15 million, $15 million.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was. It's better than I think it used to be in the first 2 years of it. But essentially, you play events throughout the year that your positioning gets you points, and those points give you a certain amount of strokes under or in terms of the tournament that you play at the FedEx Cup Championship. So over the weekend, Brooks Koepka started with like the best opportunity, I think, or the second best opportunity to finish in first because he started minus 15. And Rory started like minus 14 because of all the points they gained throughout the year. And that is how he had the opportunity to be in this tournament and win it because he essentially earned himself the right to have a head start in the tournament with only top 30 golfers make it.
Interesting. A little head start.
Yeah. So going into the third season next year, just so you know, that's what you're looking for. So when they play the Waste Management Open, I think it matters.
That's one tournament I'd like to go to. That's just rowdy.
Yeah. I'd like.
Can
I go with
golfers.
you? I'll go with you.
Live broadcast from the 13th hole. Whatever hole it is, third hole, whatever the crazy hole is, that part 3 is. They're all loud and yelling.
All right, Mr. Rinaldi, listen. The college football season is starting as well, and I know that we're going to get into a little bit of it next week. Okay, like really into it. Maybe make some predictions for the other 2 teams that aren't Alabama and Clemson, but I want to leave the Dab podcast with something today, okay? So we're going to sign off, but right after we sign off, okay, I'm going to play a clip from Dabo Swinney that I want to be the purpose that drives our Dab Podcast community before they go into their next week of work, after they finish listening to the Dab Podcast. How does that sound, sir?
Sounds amazing. A little bit of inspirational leadership quotes from the Dab Podcast.
That's super exciting.
From sports figures around the Dab Podcast.
Isn't that exciting?
I can't wait to hear a little Dabo Swinney. I love hearing that man talk.
Well, people, listen. This has been the 79th edition of the Dab Podcast. Mr. Rinaldi and I both always appreciate the support. You know it. After you finish it, please, all that we ask is that you rate, review, and you share this podcast. Find us on the social media at Dab Podcast on both of them. Get at us. Join the cast, anchor.fm, download the app, send us a voicemail any way you can. And the people know we love the fan interactions.
Fan interactions. Tell your friends. Download, rate it, subscribe. Andrew told you how to do it. Take these words of wisdom from Dabo Swinney. Put them into your everyday life. It'll be brilliant. It's fantastic. Great podcast, Andrew. I mean, playoff season is here. Football season is here. Fantasy football season is here. 2 more drops to go, Andrew. Can't wait.
I'm super excited. Andrew Romanella, Anthony Rinaldi, the Dab Podcast. We love you. We are out. Enjoy Dabo.
My word is purpose this year. My purpose as a man, my purpose as a father, my purpose as a husband, and then, you know, our purpose as a program. Our purpose as a program. And then also, you know, helping my staff and my players, you know, find and fulfill their purpose. So, you know, just really convicted on that. I mean, we've had a lot of success. I'm going into year 11, but we've stayed true to who we are the whole way. And for me, you know, again, my purpose as a man, I know what my purpose as a man is, and that's to glorify God. That's to be a great husband and father, and it's to use the game of football to, you know, equip young people for life. I mean, that's just that simple. That's what my purpose as a man is. Our purpose as a program is to graduate our players, to give them the tools that they need to go be successful, to make sure they have a good experience and to win a championship. And that has not changed since day one. It's been the same. It's been the exact same. And everything is centered and driven by that. And then, again, you know, doing everything with purpose. You know, working hard to help my players, help my staff, you know, fulfill their purpose, find their purpose in life.